Good morning, everybody. It is finally Friday, and this is your last English session for this week with me, Mrs. Dodsley. Don't know why I had to say my name, but it's just getting a habit now. Okay, so today we are going to either be continuing your rights that you started yesterday, or we're going to go through and complete them, check our work for non-negotiables, and edit our work. Okay, so our what today is to complete check our work for non-negotiables. Now remember, that means we're going to check our work, go through, does it make sense? Do our sentences have the basic non-negotiables of capital letters and of full stops? Have we used the correct punctuation when we've used different sentence structures as well? Okay, we're going to do that by deepening our thinking. And why? So we can ensure our work flows and is well presented. So remember, we do this every single Friday in order to check our work and edit as we go. Now you're getting really, really good at this editing process. Really, really impressed. This is something that we do in school all the time. But how independent you are being at this is really, really important. Remember, when you are in school, myself, Miss Note, Miss Bostock, Miss Bishton, we go through and we mark your work. And as we go through and mark, we will highlight the bits where you might need to add capital letter, for example. And it's quite easy to edit your work when you've got a teacher or somebody pointing it out to you, the bits that we're missing. The fact that you are using these videos then to find those bits yourself is the next level. Okay, so that's then another new skill. To edit your own work and look for those mistakes is a skill that is only enhancing your work. Okay, so it's really, really good. It's not pointing out that you've done everything wrong, not at all. This is just making sure that we have to go through and edit even books that are written like Harry Potter. I know in year 4 we are avid Harry Potter fans, but even someone like J.K. Rowling herself, any author, when they're doing their work, they send it off to an editor, and their job is to edit work. Okay, so you being able to do this job independently for yourself is brilliant. Okay, and it's a skill that we are going to just keep embedding and adapt and enhancing as we go. Okay, so it's also very important that we do this work. Okay, so what I would like you to do then to start off with is finish your work. Hopefully you finished it by now. If not, rewatch yesterday's video. Okay, if you have not yet finished your work, just rewatch yesterday's video and go through that checklist of, let me just find it here, yeah. Go through that checklist of, have you included your job title? Have you included your introduction? Did you use the scaffold as well? There is a scaffold for you to use. Did you need to use that? If you did, can you write up your work now neater? Have you written added any more sentences that are independent? Okay, so once you've done all that, we are now in the process of editing. So in your work, first things first, have you used capital letter at the start of your sentences? Now, I've given you an example of God of the Sea. Because that is the job title, we're treating it as though it's the title of somebody's name. So we're going to make sure that we've got capital G when we use the word God, and a capital for whatever the god is the god of. So I've given the example of the God of the Sea because that's what my waggle was written in, but you might have said God of War, God of Volcanoes, God of Fire. Okay, whichever one you use, just make sure that that word, even though normally it would not have a capital letter, does so for the sake of this right, because it is the name, it's the job title. Okay, remembering again, we've used appositives in this work. Can you just make sure that there is no verb in your appositive, and make sure that there is a comma before and after? Okay, so this is another non-negotiable of punctuation, the correct use of punctuation used. I haven't actually included on here, but you do need to go through. If you've used a rhetorical question, please make sure you put in a question mark. So a rhetorical question needs a question mark at the end. So anytime you've used a what, how, why sentence starter or would, it needs to have a question mark at the end of it. And then your range of sentence structures. Have you included those imperative bossy verbs? So have you said you must be this, you have to have strong leadership skills? Okay, so these are our imperative verbs. Have you included any? Have you gone through and included compound sentences? So this is work from a couple of weeks ago. Have you used a range of sentence structures, including compound sentences? Are you brave and are you fierce? Two main clauses linked together with a coordinating conjunction. Have you used any complex sentences? So this is learning from Wednesday's lesson. Have you used because, since, although, and in order to make your sentences even more detailed, give more detail to your main clause. Have you remembered that your complex sentence, if your subordinate clause comes after your main clause, then you don't need to do anything else. That is absolutely fine. But if your subordinate clause comes before your main clause, before your subject, then it needs to have a comma. So just make sure that we've got the correct punctuation, especially when we are using subordinate clauses and appositives within our work. Okay, so just pause the video here and just go through all of those bits for me. Brilliant. Now, once you've done all that, okay, if you still have set time within your English session, now this is not, this is a bit of an extra task. This is a challenge task. This is if you've completed your edit, okay, and it's only taken you a little bit of time. If it has taken you about 20 or 30 minutes to complete this session, then you don't need to do the extra challenge. Okay, this is here as if you have completed all of this, okay, and you still have some time to do some bit of work. So I'm going to give you an extra challenge to do, but this is not an expectation that it is completed, but it is there as a challenge for you to move on to. So your challenge today, I will put this on your class story, but I'll just talk through it now. This is a whole class rewind. So I'm just rewinding very quickly what we know about appositives and what we know about subordinate clauses. So I've got a sentence at the top here. An appositive is a something phrase that expands upon another noun something. That's just a gap fill. And then I've given you Jupiter rides a winged horse, but I've given you no punctuation there as well. So you've got two jobs to do in that first one. You've got to add an appositive that would make sense in this sentence here. And then you've got to add the correct punctuation where appropriate. Okay, because I know that this is a positive. I need to think back to our learning about appositives and what kind of punctuation do I need. And then finally, I would like you to have a go at this challenge here. Now, this is your subordinate clause challenge. So a subordinate clause is something information that gives more detail about the main something. Something makes sense on its own. Okay, so have a think about, does it make sense on its own or does it not make sense on its own? And what I've given you this time is I've given you a subordinate clause. I've given you a subject. You need to finish it off with a correct predicate. So I've got, since the god of the sea is an important job, the successful applicant, and then you're going to finish it off with the predicate. Okay, I also, again, for this one here, have not included any types of punctuation. It's up to you to go through and think about where does my punctuation go, especially when my subordinate clause comes before my main clause. And that is it for today's lesson. Again, remember, this is a challenge. Please do go on to the challenge if you have completed your work within your allotted kind of English slot. Don't take too long on this. Okay, so if it's taken you a little bit longer to finish your work and then to go through and edit, then don't do this challenge. Okay. But this is there as a bit of a extension of the task. Okay, cannot wait to see all of your work. Cannot wait to see those edits as well. Please do make sure that you send us a picture of your work before you edit it and then after you've edited it, because then that gets helps me and Miss Note to see that you've been able to spot them yourself, which is an incredible skill to have. Okay, so doing absolutely amazingly. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye.